What even is private lending? So, simply put, private lending is taking your own money and lending it out to other people or businesses. Now, if you have a good amount of money saved in your savings account, at your regular bank, or even if you have a lot of money in your emergency savings, this money is probably not growing at a high interest rate. My guess is max it's growing at 6% per year. Now, if you could take that money and make it grow faster, would you do that? I mean, I would, and I did. So you can leverage your savings for private lending to make it grow faster and put extra money in your pocket. And that's essentially what private lending is. It's just you taking what you already have from your savings account, maybe not your emergency savings, because if an emergency comes up, that would not be ideal. But if you just have savings that's not necessarily dedicated to an emergency, private lending is a great way to grow it faster. I'm talking about, for me, minimum 10% interest rates, but even as high as 40%, I mean, even 50%. It really just depends on what you negotiate with the borrower. Now, there's several steps involved in private lending, and we will go over all of those. But one of those is deciding, who you would lend to, the types of loans you'll do, how long you're willing to lend your money out, what are your interest rates, do you require monthly payments, or would you like a flat one-time payment at the end? Of course, there's due diligence involved. You want to make sure you're lending to the right person or the right entity. You want to do some investigation of what's required in your state, and doesn't have to be as complicated as it seems. You just want to make sure that you're lending in a way that's compliant with your state laws. You want to make sure you're protecting yourself and your assets. So, setting up a simple entity, proper operating agreement, making sure you get your lending documents in order. So this is like the contract between you and the borrower, and making sure you secure your interest in that loan. And what that could look like is you securing, a lien on a property. If you're lending to like a flipper, for instance, you could be you asking for a personal guarantee. There's tons of ways to protect your interest. But in a nutshell, that's what private lending is: taking the money you already have and lending it out to an entity or another person at an interest rate that helps you meet your goals. So for me, I typically lend from an LLC, and so we'll get into that, but I typically don't lend for less than 10% interest. So we'll also talk about setting your minimum interest rate. And I hope this was helpful to help you understand what private lending is simply in a nutshell.